There are 5 foods that appear consistently across the diets of cardiologists, longevity researchers, and the populations with the lowest rates of cardiovascular disease on the planet. Not supplements, not superfoods sold at a premium, ordinary food that you can buy at any grocery store, that has been eaten in traditional diets for centuries, and that the research of the last 30 years has revealed specific molecular mechanisms explaining exactly why they protect the heart. This is not a list of foods that are vaguely good for you. Each of these 5 has a documented mechanism, a specific biological action at the molecular level, and a specific body of clinical evidence showing that it reduces the measurable risk of cardiovascular events. 5 foods, 5 mechanisms, 5 reasons to change what is in your kitchen. Number 1. Sardines. The cardiovascular case for sardines rests on omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, the long-chain forms that the body can use directly without conversion. Most people know that omega-3 is good for the heart. Fewer know that not all omega-3 is equivalent. The ALA found in flaxseed and chia seeds must be converted to EPA and DHA to produce cardiovascular effects, and humans convert ALA to EPA at approximately 5 to 10% efficiency, and to DHA at less than 1%. The omega-3 in plant sources is nutritionally distant from the omega-3 the heart actually responds to. Sardines provide EPA and DHA directly. 1 can of sardines, approximately 100 grams, provides over 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA. The same serving of salmon provides approximately 1.5 grams. Sardines deliver more of the active compounds per serving than the more expensive fish most people choose instead. The mechanism is specific. EPA and DHA are converted in the body to compounds called resolvins and protectins, lipid mediators that actively resolve inflammation rather than simply suppressing it. They reduce triglycerides by approximately 15 to 30%, an independent cardiovascular risk factor. They reduce platelet aggregation, reducing the risk of clot formation. And they have direct antiarrhythmic effects on cardiac tissue, reducing the risk of fatal arrhythmias. The REDUCE-IT trial, a randomized controlled trial of high-dose EPA supplementation, found a 25% reduction in major cardiovascular events in patients at elevated risk who were already on statins. The mechanism was the EPA itself, not just cholesterol reduction. Sardines are also at the bottom of the marine food chain, which means they accumulate significantly less mercury than larger fish like tuna, swordfish, or shark. They are the high omega-3 option with the lowest contamination profile. Number 2. Walnuts. Walnuts are the only nut with significant amounts of ALA omega-3, approximately 2.5 grams per ounce. They also contain arginine, an amino acid that is the direct precursor to nitric oxide in the vascular endothelium. The same nitric oxide that cocoa flavanols and blueberry anthocyanins increase by protecting existing supply, walnuts increase by providing more substrate for its synthesis. The PREDIMED trial, one of the largest and most rigorous dietary intervention studies ever conducted, following over 7,000 high cardiovascular risk adults for approximately 5 years, found that a Mediterranean diet supplemented with a daily handful of nuts, primarily walnuts, reduced cardiovascular events by 30% compared to a low-fat control diet. This magnitude of benefit is comparable to statin therapy in similar risk populations. Walnuts also contain elagitannins, polyphenols that are converted by the gut microbiome into a compound called urolithin A. Urolithin A activates mitophagy, the cellular process of clearing damaged mitochondria, which is a critical mechanism in cardiovascular aging. The elagitannin content of walnuts is among the highest of any commonly eaten food. 1 ounce per day, approximately 7 whole walnuts, is the dose associated with the documented cardiovascular benefits. Number 3. Extra virgin olive oil. Olive oil's cardiovascular benefit is not primarily about fat. It is about a specific compound in the phenolic fraction called oleocanthal. Oleocanthal inhibits the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, the same enzymes that ibuprofen inhibits. The anti-inflammatory effect of oleocanthal is pharmacologically analogous to ibuprofen at the doses present in 50 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil, approximately 3.5 tablespoons. The characteristic throat-burning sensation of high-quality extra virgin olive oil is the direct sensory effect of oleocanthal, the same sensation produced in the throat by ibuprofen. This anti-inflammatory activity is part of the mechanism behind olive oil's cardiovascular benefits in the Mediterranean diet research. It is not possessed by refined olive oil, light olive oil, or other vegetable oils. It is specific to extra virgin olive oil with high phenolic content, a category that includes most cold-pressed, unrefined extra virgin oils. The Predimed trial found that Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, approximately 4 tablespoons per day, reduced major cardiovascular events by 30%. The olive oil arm of the study showed stronger effects than the nut arm, making extra virgin olive oil the single most evidence-supported dietary intervention for cardiovascular disease prevention in the study. The oleocanthal content degrades with heat, light, and time. Olive oil used for cooking at moderate temperatures retains more of its phenolic content than oil used for high-heat frying. Fresh oil, consumed within the harvest year, has significantly higher phenolic content than oil that has been stored for extended periods. Number 4. Blueberries. Blueberry anthocyanins, the compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier, have equally documented cardiovascular effects through the same nitric oxide mechanism. Anthocyanins inhibit the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. Oxidized LDL is the specific form that drives atherosclerotic plaque formation. Native LDL does not directly damage arterial walls, but when it is oxidized by reactive oxygen species in the arterial wall, it is taken up by macrophages to form foam cells, the cellular component of atherosclerotic plaques. By reducing LDL oxidation, anthocyanins address one of the fundamental upstream steps in atherosclerosis. Not by reducing LDL levels, but by reducing the conversion of existing LDL into the form that causes damage. This mechanism complements statin therapy. Statins reduce LDL levels, while anthocyanins reduce LDL oxidation, which may explain why dietary patterns high in anthocyanin-containing foods produce cardiovascular benefits beyond what cholesterol reduction alone predicts. A meta-analysis of prospective studies found that higher anthocyanin intake was associated with an 18% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality. The strongest associations were in populations with habitual daily consumption rather than occasional intake. 1 cup of blueberries per day provides the anthocyanin dose at which cardiovascular and cognitive benefits have been consistently documented. Frozen wild blueberries have higher anthocyanin content than fresh cultivated varieties and maintain their potency indefinitely in the freezer. Number 5. Dark chocolate. At 70% cocoa content or higher, dark chocolate delivers cocoa flavanols, epicatechin primarily, that produce documented cardiovascular benefits through the same nitric oxide mechanism as blueberry anthocyanins, through a complementary but distinct set of molecular pathways. The Cosmos trial, the Cocoa Supplement and Multivitamin Outcomes Study, enrolled over 20,000 adults and followed them for 3.5 years in a randomized, placebo-controlled design. Daily cocoa flavanol supplementation reduced cardiovascular mortality by 27% compared to placebo. This is primary endpoint data from a large, pre-registered randomized controlled trial, the highest level of evidence in nutritional research. The mechanism involves endothelial function improvement through increased nitric oxide, reduced platelet aggregation, improved insulin sensitivity, and reduced inflammatory marker levels including C-reactive protein and IL-6. These effects are cumulative with daily consumption and represent multiple independent cardiovascular benefits from a single food. 20 to 30 grams per day of dark chocolate at 70% cocoa or higher provides meaningful flavanol doses within a caloric budget that most people can accommodate. Non-Dutched natural cocoa powder, stirred into coffee or yogurt, provides the same flavanols without the fat and sugar of the chocolate format. Here is the pattern across these 5 foods. None of them work through a single mechanism. Each provides multiple molecular actions that converge on cardiovascular protection through different pathways, which is why dietary patterns that include these foods consistently outperform pharmaceutical interventions targeting single mechanisms in reducing cardiovascular events. Sardines, EPA and DHA for triglyceride reduction, anti-arrhythmic effects, and active inflammation resolution. Walnuts, arginine for nitric oxide synthesis, elagitannins for mitochondrial health, ALA omega-3 as a cardiovascular substrate. Extra virgin olive oil, oleocanthal for COX enzyme inhibition and anti-inflammatory activity that functions like a daily low-dose ibuprofen without the gastrointestinal risk. Blueberries, Anthocyanins for LDL oxidation reduction, nitric oxide protection, and endothelial function improvement. Dark chocolate. Cocoa flavanols for endothelial function, platelet aggregation reduction, and documented 27% reduction in cardiovascular mortality in a randomized controlled trial. These are not foods that are generally healthy in a vague sense. They are foods with specific mechanisms, specific research, and specific measurable effects on the biological processes that determine cardiovascular disease risk. The cardiovascular researchers who study these mechanisms eat them daily. The mechanism is the reason. If this changed what goes into your grocery basket, hit the like button, share it with someone managing their cardiovascular health, and subscribe for more content like this.